Hi, Abbie. Long time no see. For another little episode of Let's Talk Swimming. We have a lot of new topics which we want to discuss, and this first one, we want to talk about the kicks as such. Kicks is a big topic. I mean, and it's also something which a lot of people struggle. It has to do with mobility and all these kind of things. How would you start? How would you start with someone, or with youngsters especially? I mean, how would you start to learn the kicks? That first, as a first thing.
Yeah, so with the little ones, I mean, normally what we do is we isolate the kick. And so we get them, on boards, on their side, on their back, hands up, hands down, a lot of different variation of kicking to get them kicking in both directions, learning how to point their toes. I've seen coaches take their kids out, literally put them on land and teach them that, like, you've got to point your toes for freestyle and butterfly, flexion for breaststroke. But you've got that just like, they need to learn the motion, and then from there you can kind of build in the connection of the kicks to the arms. But probably until the age of like 11, 12, the kids' kick speed really just depends on their arm speed. So you'll see as a coach that's like a swimmer swimming faster or trying harder, they're going to spin their arms faster, which means there's going to be a larger kick, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the connection from the arms to the legs is correct. It's just a lot more kicking and a lot more.
Yeah. So just to also comment the kick itself, I usually explain it as the kick is a hip starting whip movement and going there. I mean, and also the ratio where you would be in would be, let's say, maybe a meter, not more. And in that sense, it is. What would you say there? I mean, is this assumption correct, or would you agree with that?
I do agree. I think it starts from the hips, it travels down to the knees, and it's kind of like this big whip on the down kick that the speed, most of the speed for you to go forward, and then kind of that up, the amplitude that you're talking about is from top to bottom is, they're set to get to that next down kick. But I do think it's quite big. I think the best kickers can keep a larger amplitude and repeat that over and over and over again. Whereas if it's too tight, I feel like straight legs and everything becomes just more inefficient. You can kind of see it above the water.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I mean, obviously we have the kicks. Obviously, when we were young, or when we started out, I don't think I've ever called it that way, and no one ever called me, oh, you're doing a 6B kick or an 8B kick. I mean, that's nowadays something. Just to that we have the stations of the kick itself. So I mean, 6B kick. I mean, it's 6 kicks per stroke cycle. Yes, 6 kicks per stroke cycle, and then we have the 4B kick, obviously with 4 kicks per stroke cycle, and then at last but not least we have a 2B kick, which is 2 kicks per stroke cycle. And I get always asked, because in my YouTube videos or on Instagram videos, I have a lot of these slow swimming videos where I do a 2B kick, and for me, I perfected it to the max for myself, for my own style, how to do it. But and also then I get people to say, oh, I should try this. It's much easier, because I guess they struggle with the kicks. Would you do that, or how would you start off?
I mean, for me, I think what I've seen is that the kicking is always a hot topic, because, I mean, I always use this as my kind of justification with the kick. It's like, if you look at your arms versus your legs, you've got much muscles out of your legs. So when you recruit them to help you, especially if you're doing a 6 versus a 2, you're going to give out more effort. It's going to require more energy. Like, you're going to feel that. So the training environment, people ebb and flow through 2 to 6, depending on what they're doing, because it doesn't make sense to come into a practice in warm up necessarily and do a 6-speed kick, because it's going to tire you out, for that main set or further sets down the line. So I'm a huge proponent of the more you use your legs, the better like physical shape you get into, because of the requirements and the demands those muscles have compared to your arms. But it's still more variable depending on like what are your goals? Like, is speed your goal? Because to have the highest speed you could possibly generate, it means kicking the most you possibly can. But if you're going for distance, and speed is less of like you need the highest speed possible for a really, really long distance, then maybe you reduce the kicks because it conserves a little bit of energy if you're swimming a 10K. And that's a very different, goal or achievement that you're wanting to have than sprinting a 50.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Actually, it's actually a good point. First of all, as you said it correctly, it depends on the goal, what you need to do or what you want to do, but also and also on the distance. So you need to be sure what you want to go for. So I completely agree with you. It's really like that. I mean, if I'm doing triathlons now and Ironmans, and there, yes, I can also. In a long distance swimming, it is less propulsion, it's more balance, and it's really just like, do I need to counterbalance for what I do with my arms? Even if I have a bigger a stroke rate or like a faster rhythm on my arms, it's just as a counterbalance. And when you sprint, it's more also the propulsion which thrusts you forward and gives you that extra speed. So yes, I would agree to that. And no, for me, this I like the little excursions we made in each topic. So, what is a kick, or how should it look like, and what is like what is 6 beat, 2 kick, 4 kick, whatever beat kick. And then also how does it need to look like, and also where do you use it, and what is the goal. So I like that quite. The question is what I see is so. I mean, as I said, when we're young, we start out. You as a coach, you give them a board, and then they start to kick. Now let's say I'm 35 years old. I did this experiment with a friend of mine as well. I'm 35 years old, and I'm starting out to swim. What would you tell him? Like, what would you give him? Would you do the same thing as with the children? Give a board and just start to kick, or would you start to explain how and whatever? How would you do it?
Yeah, I would approach an adult differently than I would approach a kid, especially like, if they're 35 and just getting into swimming, hopefully that means that they've done some other sort of physical fitness, but most of that is on land, right? So now they might have been a runner, or they might have been a cyclist, which is putting the foot in a different position. So they've really strengthened their leg muscles, but kind of in the opposing way that you need to strengthen them for the pool.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like runners, not great kickers. Cyclists, not great kickers. Like, you've got swimmers in triathlon that are really good because they have a swimming background, and then you have people that are really good at biking that have no swimming background and struggle with the swim. And so it's like, I would still say the same thing in regards to like the rationalization of like, if you get better at kicking, it's going to make you a better swimmer. But I wouldn't put so much emphasis on the kick as I would for like a younger kid who's helping that like really build their foundation and their engine. Because with our little ones, you may take a practice, like an hour and a half, 2 hour practice, and make 30% of that practice dedicated to kicking. But for someone who's 35, maybe practicing for an hour, I wouldn't spend 30% of that time every day necessarily devoting it to kicking. But yeah, with the younger ones, I think it's important that they understand how to like have the legs and pull from them, because they haven't molded into anything yet. Like they're just swimming all the distances and whatever. But as you get older, that person's telling you what they want to do. And so it's like, okay, how can I get you to whatever it is that you want to do in a fast,
Yeah, that makes sense. Does make sense. Also, most of the youngest don't want to go and do long distance, which is also not recommended. That you would start off like you need to have distance in you, and you swim the distance that you have you eat the kilometers that you have the foundation. But it's not that you go into like I've never seen a 10-year-old boy, not a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old youngster, or even 8 years old youngster saying, "I want to be a 1500 swimmer." I wouldn't or I want to be a 5K swimmer at some point.
Yeah.
You either get there at the beginning. You're everything. You do everything right, and there I guess the propulsion is very much more in the focus than and what you get out of it when you're older. And one thing I like what you said is the point about the older you get, the more they tell you what they want or what they want to do. I guess it's also kicks is a very individual thing. When you look at my technique and how I swim, I have this video where I'm in the flume and I go from very slow swimming, or like, what is it, 112 average to on 100 meter, to go and swim a 54 on 100 meter. And it accelerates, and you see, first I turn off my kicks completely, it's just balance, and then obviously gets more and more over time, but also my arm, like the movement in my arm, the rhythm, I'm going from just the almost catch up to this hybrid freestyle gallop or hiccup freestyle, whatever everyone calls it. And then obviously kicks will be my thing. For me, kicks is the centerpiece, as in it tells me what the speed is. And it drives the speed, or it's sort of my acceleration. So the more kicks, the faster I go, the more I do with my arms and whatever. And I think this is one thing which I would teach people who are older and just getting into it, where I say, look, try to mold it together, some sort of that you have this rhythm and balance, and get some sort of, I like the fitness part, make the kicks your centerpiece in training. What you do in a competition is different again. I think that is maybe it.
No, I agree. I think it's definitely swimmer dependent. It's good to understand all of them. It's good to be able to pick and choose like what's appropriate for what you're doing. Because like I've read all the articles that's, you should use a 2-beat kick because it's for body balance. It also reduces drag than having your legs lower. There's a lot of thoughts as to why something may be appropriate, but it's really, everything comes down to technique as to what is most appropriate for you, the person watching, not what someone thinks you should do. Because it's kind of like, it's, they may have a different goal than you have. They may be a different age. They may have a different background. Like, there's too many variables to be very definitive in this space. It's just like, scientifically, 6-beat is faster. But if it is not your goal, then maybe you do a 2-beat. It's like, it can be that simple.
No, I like that. Actually, let's stand it like this. I mean, if people have questions to it, and I think we should just, if people have questions, they should put it in the comments below, and have more questions about this, or if they have other topics which they want. And that's why I think this is a good point for this discussion to have it, like to have a little excursion on the kicks. I think we covered a lot of different aspects of it. And I think we can go more into detail on a different topic, what kind of drills you would do, and maybe also highlight it with some videos which we have, vertical kicks and all the nitty gritty things we have. But for that one, I would keep it there. As I said, if you have questions, put it in the comments. Like, share, and follow this video. Follow Abbie, the fish, I think. No, Abbie, the fish on Instagram, right? On YouTube, we are both everywhere: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. We love when you share and like and follow us. And until another topic, and until next time.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Cheers.